Where do we start? Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Can Chatter TV. I'm Stephen. I'm back after a week or so off. I needed a little bit of a break, and it's good to be back. It's just a pity that I'm coming back to this. Do you know what? There's so much to talk about tonight. We have a drubbing at the weekend at the hands of City, which was just an absolute embarrassment. We have embarrassing stuff going on around the club in terms of transfers in, transfers out. We have a fan base that's fighting with each other. It's just an absolute shambles. There's going to be so much tonight. Make sure to get involved in the chat. Keep the comments coming in. And do you know what? We'll get to as much of it as we can. But for now, we'll roll the titles and we'll get started.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's happened.
Okay, so as I say, welcome back to Can Chatter TV with me, Stephen. And do you know what? I'm in better form tonight than I thought I was going to be. Just like Arsenal, I've been missing for the last week or so, but I've come back with a new outfit. So we're all right. Joining me tonight, as always, is my Can Chatter co-host, G. How are you, G?
I'm good. As you all know, Stephen, I'm in the process of moving house. So, that's kind of keeping me busy, really, really busy. But yeah, personally, I'm good. Arsenal-wise, boy, I don't know. I think since the City drubbing at the weekend, I could probably honestly say it's one of the lowest, if not the lowest, points of being an Arsenal fan that I've experienced. To the point where, I am looking at my phone, in hope that, we do something this late on in the market. But yeah, for the last couple of days, I've just had to ignore my certain WhatsApps and certain DMs because I'm literally just getting absolutely battered by all rival fans, from Spurs to Chelsea to United to City. So yeah, it could be better on the Arsenal front. But yeah, personally, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. As I say, I'm happy to be back. I am, but I just wish it was going to be a more fun evening. Although that being said, you know what? We always have fun on this show, and especially with the man who's directly below us on the screen, our good friend Keith. Always good to have you on the show, Keith. And you always, you know what? I know you get these wee moods and you get really riled up and you're really angry. But you know what? It's still always funny. So it's great to have you back on the show, Keith. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me back on again. Yeah, I'm much the same as G. Obviously, I'm not moving house at the moment, but away from football. Had a nice weekend. But it's just, I don't even know what to say at the moment about the football. I can see entirely why you guys don't do a reaction show straight after the game. Gives us all a chance to have a think about stuff, let the dust settle. I've been sat all weekend trying to think if there's been a time when I felt lower as an Arsenal fan than I do now, like even looking back at the late 80s. And I don't think I've ever felt as low as I do at the moment. And again, same as G, I've been getting absolutely battered by everyone that knows me. And I'm getting sick and tired of Spurs fans sending me screenshots of the league table, especially when it's a screenshot of I think it's BBC Sports, and it don't even show Arsenal. It goes down to about 17th place, and everyone's like, "You're not even in the picture." It's like, and I've got no comeback at the moment. So bad times at the moment, I think. But I'm looking forward to tonight. It should be fun to have a good chat about things.
Excellent. Okay. Well, let's run through a couple of these comments before we get into things. So, Lottie, who is having a night off, having a bit of time with her mum and stuff tonight. Oi, evening, lads. Make sure you hit the like button if you don't like 34 and you love the content. Absolutely. Make sure you hit that like button. Wheezy J, good evening, guys. Hope we are all well. Then there's a couple of messages from me. We'll jump down. Lottie, the blue, Stephen. Well, Lottie hadn't seen the blue yet. G had seen it, as I sent them a wee photograph of it the other day, but no one else had seen it yet. So Andy, evening guys. This will be a fun night. It certainly will. David, hi everyone. Hope you're all well today and recovered from the match. Getting there. Fun show then. Weezy J, Stephen, looking younger. What's your secret? My secret is a week and a half of not talking about Arsenal.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe this. Keith's only 25. He's just been on so many podcasts recently that he's looking a bit old. Keith, hi guys. Keith, never felt as though about our club. Dubber Ducky, my favourite name. William has officially terminated his contract. Yeah, and we'll get on to that later on. Bungle, morning gents, looking forward to this. Great, brilliant stuff. As Lottie says, if you are watching, make sure and drop a like on the video if you're watching through YouTube. If you are on Facebook or on Periscope or Twitter, make sure and jump across onto the YouTube channel, drop a subscription and give us a wee like on the video. From tomorrow, for the first time, just to let you know that this show will be available as a podcast. So it will be going out on Spotify, iTunes, and all the other places that you get your podcasts from. So, you know, if you can't tune into the whole show, you can always catch up and listen to it when you're out and about. If you're going for a walk, if you're driving the car, you can pop it on Spotify and tune in and have a listen back. All right. So listen, let's get into it. We'll go straight into the match. And we'll talk about that because I think, do you know what? There's been so much other stuff going on over the last couple of days, but we can't forget that we went to City and we got tanked. Absolutely tanked. So, I mean, we'll start off straight away and we'll look at the lineup. So, a bit of a shock when the lineup came out for me in that I wasn't really surprised that we went for the 5 at the back. What I was surprised with was that Kalashnik was part of that 5. So for anybody who hadn't seen the lineup, I assume that you've been living under a rock because, you know, everybody will have seen this and seen the result and had a look at who was playing. But if you haven't, the lineup was Leno in goal. We had Cedric at right wing back with Chambers holding Kalashnik in the middle. Then you had Tierney at left back or left wing back. You then had number 34 sitting in the middle, alongside Odegaard. Odegaard was a bit deeper than normal, but you had Odegaard, and then you had Smith Rowe on the left, Saka on the right, and Aubameyang up top. Keith, I'll come to you first. What was your feelings when you seen the team?
Very much the same as you, really, mate. Wasn't too upset with the tactical setup. That's kind of what I would have done. I think it was essential that we went for 5 at the back. But again, Kolasinac, a strange one for me. I thought he was gone, and then all of a sudden he's played in our last 2 games. He had an absolute stinker. Cedric had an absolute stinker. And the thing to me, with the players we've got available, obviously I'm not a tactical mastermind or a head coach or a manager or anything like that, but Kieran Tierney is one of our best defenders, and we've got a guy that we bought in the summer who's really, really rapid and would have helped counter-attacking. And I personally would have put Tierney in the 3 and Tavares out wide on the left, because I think really our only chance of beating this, like obviously you're not going to pass them off the pitch, is just to sit compact and tight and hope you can hit them on the counter. It's literally the only chance we had. But yeah, the personnel, with what we've got available, you know, we are a little bit bare bones, which is really, really worrying when we're 3 games into the start of the season, COVID or not. There's still injuries that we shouldn't have this early on. And no way in a million years should Kolasinac be anywhere near that starting 11, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. G, in terms of the lineup, I mean, just before we come on to your thoughts on it, one thing I sort of noticed was we had 2 keepers on the bench for a Premier League game. You know, and we were missing players like number 2, Reece Nelson wasn't there, you know, Balogun wasn't there, but we had 2 keepers on the bench. Do you think Arteta is sending a message to the board that we need more players, or do you just think he doesn't trust any of these players enough to even put them on the bench?
You know what? To be honest, I don't even know what's going on at the club. I really don't. I think, you know, when you look at the squad, like, we all know the issues with regards to the squad. That the squad is not good enough. The squad is imbalanced in certain areas. We have an overload in some areas of poor quality, and in other areas we have maybe too much quality, and in some areas, or most areas, we have no quality at all. But yeah, it just doesn't make sense, you know, when you look at the bench and you see that we have 2 goalkeepers, but yet there are players that, for one reason or another, you know, no news to say that they're not fit. They've just not featured. But yet the same players that are not featured are no closer to leaving the club, you know, between now and tomorrow. So it's just a strange one. It's a really strange one, because it's like, we don't know what happens kind of behind closed doors, but Arteta is very public in terms of his kind of, not, I wouldn't say defense of the hierarchy at Arsenal, but, you know, whenever he's been kind of quizzed or questioned in terms of, like, you know, do the Kroenke support him? Is he getting the investment? Is he getting the backing? He's very adamant. You know, for somebody who comes across so opinionated, he's very confident in his answers, to the point where sometimes he doesn't even allow the reporter to even finish what they're saying. You know, at the end of last season, it was like, yes, you know, I'm getting the investment, I'm getting the backing, I've got their support. So I really don't know, like, what the issues are. But for me, you know, touching upon what Keith said, I don't blame him for going to a back 5 or back 3 with wing backs. Because I think we all realized that, actually, when we got some of our best results against some of the big boys, that was the formation we played. However, I just don't get the personnel. So, you know, like Keith said, the first thing we know, you know, as we all know as football fans, Tierney plays centre back. He can play centre back in a 5 for Scotland. So I don't understand why he didn't play Tierney where Kolasinac played. We bought Tavares, who can play left wing back, can play left back, has had a fantastic pre-season. When he's come on in a couple of Premier League games and started against West Brom, he looked really good. So why not play him where Tierney had played? So if you play Tavares on the left wing back, Tierney at left centre back where he can play, and then I would have personally gone with probably Mauri and Holding. But instead he went with Chambers, who we haven't been using as a centre back. We've been using him as a right back or right wing back. So it was like, I'm not surprised that the defense played as they did, because, you know, when was the last time we played 5 at the back? One. Secondly, when was the last time any of those players have played together and played in that formation? You know, you can't just put those players in that formation after like 1 or 2 training sessions, go up against the best team in the Premier League and say, yeah, you know, here you go, you know, perform. Because it's just not going to work. So I understood the formation. I just didn't understand the players that he picked and where he picked them in the defense. In terms of the midfield, obviously, you know, we're very limited in terms of midfielders at the moment. I think even though, you know, Sambi's come in and he has played well, we do have to remember that he is young, and playing him week in, week out all the time probably isn't the best thing in terms of his development. But right now, we're kind of being forced to do it because we just simply don't have any other midfield options. And the front 3, to be honest, I didn't have too many complaints with the front 3. I think he had to play Aubameyang because he needs to find form. He's our captain. He's fit. And then obviously with the other 2 players, I had no real complaints. Pepe was out, so he started Saka and was it Saka and Odegaard he started? Yeah. So for me, I had no real complaints. Just some question marks about who he picked defensively in that lineup, in that formation.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, for me, looking at it, I can understand why Mauri didn't play, in the sense that, you know, arguably Kolasinac and Chambers would be more mobile than Mauri. And when you're playing against a team like City, who are so quick, you know, they're so quick with the ball and so quick on the break, you need to have players that are, you know, that bit faster. But again, I still, like you both said, would have played Tierney, in that back three and put Tavares at the left wing back. So again, yeah, I mean, I don't understand it. I really don't. I also, it's funny because I've sat here and I've banged on about the fact that Arteta is too stubborn to change the formation to suit the players that he has. But why he dropped Lukonga for that game, why he didn't just stick with what he's been doing and play 34 and Sambi Lukonga in the middle. I just don't understand why he chooses to do this and experiment, and why he experiments in these big games. You could argue that we've sort of, a lot of fans have sat back and said, well, we weren't expecting to get anything against City. And whilst I agree, I probably wasn't expecting to get anything, I still wanted us to win. I don't think I necessarily thought we would win, but I at least want us to show some fight and some heart, and changing the team up. How many days did they actually have to practice that? Because they played West Brom on the Wednesday night. They would have had the Thursday off to recover. So they've practiced Friday morning? Yeah. As a back three all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. It's just, it doesn't work. So a couple of comments before we move on. Mike Oxmall, that's a new name in the chat. Evening, Mike, how are you? Jay, evening all, hope you're keeping well. Lottie gave up at half time, so I think that was in David had asked, did people manage to make the whole way through? Keith, did you watch the whole way through the match?
I did. Very simple reason. It's kind of like a modern form of self-flagellation, and I have to punish myself because the way I look at it, it's ridiculous. Even at half time, there's no way we're getting back into the game, but there's always that chance that you might. And also, I think if I punish myself to such an extent, when the good times come around again, I just make it that much sweeter. So, I always do watch the entire game, unfortunately.
Jay, I know you were commenting in our group chat that you turned it off, but I know finally you turned it back on and you switching it on and off.
Yeah, I was like, I had enough, kind of like at the 2-3-0 point. But as Keith said, it's just one of those things where it's like, you react, and I was so livid just with everything that had gone on. But I was watching it, I had it on. I was commenting in the WhatsApp group as things were happening. But yeah, it was a tough watch. It was a tough watch. I did actually turn it over, and then as soon as the little ones and that started watching something, I just got back the remote. I was like, I have to watch this. As bad as it is, I had to watch it. But yeah, it was a tough watch, painful watch.
So Mike saying there, I thought Kalashnik was leaving, and then he plays the last two games at centre back. Yeah, I mean, we all thought he was out. Rumours of him, coming to an agreement to terminate his contract. Then it was, Arsenal didn't want to let him go for free, and Fenerbahce wouldn't pay for him. So we'll come on to that later on, but potentially it looks like he's here for another season. Lolly, I want to know why our best midfielder was on the bench. Makes no sense, regardless of his age. Tugon Gomez pissed. Mike, Arteta played 5 at the back, probably to keep the score down and hopefully lock in 0-0 draw. Maybe could well be. Rich Sports, again, that's another new name in the chat. Welcome. It wasn't remotely competitive before the red card. No, we'll come on to that in a wee second. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll talk about this later, but I don't think the red card changed the outcome of that game. Evening all, evening Georgina, our number one fan. Weezy J just felt like this, or they was, sorry, just felt like they was any passion at all apart from the fans. Okay. Lolly, I don't know why we went in for the kill against the Baggies and not even try against City. Rich Sports, worst Arsenal team I've seen for ages. David, so we actually looked promising for 5 minutes, and it was our defence that really messed up twice. That finished us even before the red. If we didn't concede those goals, it's a different game. And supporters fantastic as usual. Yeah. So, I mean, coming on to that, for me, I actually think, maybe not so much the personnel, but I actually think Arteta set the team up quite well, despite the result. And for the first sort of 5-10 minutes, we were quite competitive. And actually, if anything, we actually looked slightly more dangerous than City.
Yeah.
Although we didn't actually achieve a shot on goal or anything, we did seem to be, I'm not saying controlling the game, but we certainly were. For me, we were the better team for the first 5-6 minutes. They got the goal. We still probably arguably were the better team for the next couple of minutes, and then it all just went after that. The heads went down, and it just ridiculous. Not trolling. Good to see an Arsenal channel where people aren't ranting. Thanks. We don't rant on this channel. We do get annoyed and angry, but we deliberately don't do our shows straight after the match because I think, like a lot of people, we would be reactionary. We like to take our time and sort of think about things. But let's say welcome to the show. Okay, so we could go through each of these goals, but it would take all night because there was that many of them, and I just don't want to press myself that much anymore.
No, please.
Into that.
I think I can sum up the first goal: shocking defending.
Yeah.
Chambers and Holding, just absolute shocking defending. How a player like Gondwan can get to the ball and score with his head. Should never have been in that position. So, yeah, shocking. The second one, I want to talk about a little bit. Fernan Torres scored, but obviously before he scored, when the ball was coming in, there was an incident where Chambers got hit in the face. And obviously VAR looked at it and, they said that it was nothing. To me, it didn't affect the outcome of the goal. It still probably would have been a goal. But should that have been more than it was? G, I'll let you go first on this one.
You know what? If I've got to be completely honest, I just thought Chambers just needs to man up a little bit in this situation. For me, when I look at this incident itself, I'm thinking to myself, you're a defender. You're playing a centre back, and if you've ever played football or watched football, there's lots of arms. Going. There's holding of shirts between the attacker and the defender. A lot of the time, there's jostling that goes on, and as much as contact was made, to his jaw or his chin or whatever it wasn't enough for him to fall down. It wasn't enough for him to be knocked off his feet. So for me, when I saw it, my initial reaction was like, oh yeah, that's out of order. That should have been a foul, etc. But that's based on what I see or what I see given or not given, in and around other matches in the Premier League. It's that kind of inconsistency. For me, it should have been stopped as a foul, or VAR should have said, no, that shouldn't. For me, it shouldn't have been allowed because of that, off the ball incident, based on what I see go on in the Premier League. However, for me, the type of person I am, I just think to myself, he should have just manned up. Like, he just went down way too easy. He could have easily shrugged that off and just been more concentrated on the fact that, he needs to get to the ball, prevent a goal, etc. He could have even had a word with the ref, after the set piece had been taken. So I'm kind of a bit on the fence with this one. I think if VAR did look at it, and I think the fact that they didn't say anything, I think is laughable to a certain extent, considering what they're giving elsewhere. But then at the same time, maybe they're looking at it from my perspective also, where it's just a bit of handbags, and he's gone to the floor like as if he's been hit by Mike Tyson. And I'm just not buying it. So I'm not quite sure where I stand on it, but I just think Chambers could have done a lot better in that situation. But at the same time, if VAR did look at it, you can't help but you have to be blind to say, well, something happened there, contact was made, and when you look at the rule book, that's a foul, regardless. It is. But yeah, I'm a bit on the fence with this one. I think it should have been given, regardless of how Chambers reacted. But I just think Chambers at that point shouldn't have gone to ground over that, to be honest.
Okay. Keith, same question to yourself. And just before I come to that, just to let you all know, if you haven't seen the comments there, Georgina has put in William departure official statement released. And I have just read it, and we'll come back to it after, because it is something we're going to touch on tonight anyway. So I will read that statement out for you in a bit anyway. So yeah, Keith, your thoughts on the Chambers foul, not foul?
1,000,000% agree with what G just said there. I thought the same about Pablo Mari last weekend against Lukaku as well. I thought he went down too easily, and it's like they're looking for a free kick. It's like, and I haven't played for donkey's years, but when I did play, the toughest lads on the pitch were either the defensive central midfielders or the centre backs, and they're the sort of lads that you never used to be able to roll over. And these lads have clearly gone down looking for, presumably Chambers was absolutely nailed on that he was going to get the decision. And it's one of those, the more I've looked at it, the worse it looks. It seems to look like he's struck him a lot harder each time I've seen it. But there is this directive from the referees that they're supposed to be letting more go. So I wasn't too miffed at the time because I thought, oh, that's fair enough. They're letting that go. They're letting it go. But then when you got a few minutes later, Kolasinac gets done for basically touching Jesus on top of the head, and he gets a yellow for something which was much less of a strike. That was the thing that really, really got to me. Was, I don't like to think that there's this agenda against Arsenal, but with every game that goes past, there seems to be more evidence that maybe there is. But again, that foul, whether it were given or not, didn't change anything at all, really. I think you should just man up, and you're a defender. If someone goes through you, then you should be wanting to show them that you're tougher than them, and you're not going to let them get through, instead of going down like you just took one off Iron Mike. So yeah, exactly the same as what G just said, really.
Yeah, and it's funny you should mention that, because we're going to come on to the number 34 incident in a wee second. And I know from seeing, not that I really watched much of the other games over the weekend, but there was a number of tackles that were similar, potentially worse than what he did, and they went unpunished. So, it does very much look like there's some sort of issue, shall we say, against Arsenal. That being said, it's not going to defend number 34 and what he did. But yeah, I mean, it is a little frustrating when you see these things happen, and the likes of Kalashnik getting booked and whatever for, something that was less of a foul for me than Chambers getting hit in the face. I've watched it back several times, and it was an open hand. It was a push rather than a punch, but it still shouldn't have happened. Yes, Chambers probably went down a wee bit easy, but you can't be getting away with stuff like that. For me, it takes away from the game. If you're allowed to push an opponent to the ground, it takes away from the game. And as a father, I wouldn't teach my kids to play like that. And I wouldn't teach my kids to go down the way the Chambers went down either. So unfortunately, that's the modern age of football, that there's so much play acting. So just before we move on to the number 34 incident, Mike has put in a great question there, Mike, and I'm going to come back to that about, does it just look bad that 2 games we rarely win anyway just happen to be back to back? Would we be as upset had there been 5 games we won between them, like in other years? And we're going to come back to that afterwards, because it's a really good question. But then Mike also made another point. If it had been disallowed, we still would have lost 4-0. Yeah, more than likely. William gone, good riddance. Hope Dor doesn't hit him on the way out. Again, we'll come back to that. Let me see where we got to. Jay, it's 1 rule for us and 1 for everyone else regarding Chambers and Kalashnik incidents. Yeah, it does seem to be that way. Keith agrees with Keith and G. Lottie, thoughts on Arsenal fans wanting an apology from 34. Again, we'll come on to that in a wee second, Lottie. Jay saying we won't get one, but he has posted on Insta about being away with Switzerland. Yeah. And Lottie, I don't want it to, but I've seen fans looking for one on Twitter. All right, so God, do we have here about 34 depresses me. I love the fact that everybody's getting on board with the not saying his name. So, Keith, I'm just going to put up a picture and you can talk. Tell us. Talk.
Right.
Say what you want to say.
As soon as this happened, I swore quite a lot. I sit out in the conservatory away from the wife and kids when I'm watching football, purely for situations like this. And I went straight to Twitter, like you do, and I said, nobody defend this bloke to me ever again. There is no way you can defend that. He's not learning from all the other stupid sending offs that he's done. And even if his feet aren't off the ground, he's diving in on the player who wins the most free kicks in the attacking sector in the English Football League. No one's better. And I don't even know if he made contact. I don't know. But you look at that, as the rules state, if you're going into a tackle, your feet are off the ground, you're out of control. That's, dangerous play. It's a straight red all day long. No damage was done. But if his studs are stuck in the ground and he goes straight through him, then he's got, broken bones there. Can't defend it. Just, people have tried to and said, you got the ball with his trailing leg and stuff. So, the picture tells it all. You can't defend that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody who is listening to this back on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from, the picture on screen is basically number 34, both feet clearly in the air, going on the ball. And he does get the ball. There's no doubt that he gets the ball. But it doesn't matter because it doesn't change the fact that, as you say, he's off the ground with both feet. He's out of control. And both feet are in front of him. It's not like one of them is behind. They are both out in front of him. So he has dived in. Absolutely no defending him. For me personally, I can't think of any way you can defend this player.
No. Is that on Cancelo or is that? I thought it was Grealish, but that's Cancelo, isn't it?
No, I think it's Torres.
Is it Torres?
Yeah.
See, for some reason at the time I thought it was Grealish. That's what I was saying about the winning of the free kicks. But even so, it's just the ball going out as well.
Torres. And this is my concern with a player like 34. It's, he's been sent off now 10 times in his career. Not all at Arsenal, obviously. But when we need him, we weren't going to win this game. We were 2-0 down by this stage anyway. But it didn't help. Someone saying it's Cancelo. Sorry, maybe it is Cancelo. My apologies. Yeah, we were 2-0 down. We weren't going to win. But 11 players on the pitch arguably would have been better than 10. It's a difficult argument to make, but arguably we would have been better with 11 players.
Yeah, his teammates should have been tearing into him for that at half time when they were in.
And the fact that Arteta patted him on the back on his way past, that I couldn't deal with that at all. G, give us your thoughts.
It's it's just I just don't even know where to begin with this guy. It's his disciplinary record is dreadful in an Arsenal shirt. I've said before, when it comes to individual errors leading to goals, he's up there. He's the top rank in terms of in an Arsenal shirt since he's joined. He's had most red cards. Any Arsenal player since he's joined. And it's like you said, Stephen, it's like, it was already a difficult afternoon. We're playing against Man City. Our confidence is not as high as it should be. We're 2-0 down. He's one of the only really kind of senior or experienced players in the team when you look at the ages of them. And you just think to yourself, like, just use some common sense, You don't need to go in. The rule book, the Premier League, and you know what the refs are like. So it's like you don't need to go in and do that challenge. And for me, like, I don't know how much it would have changed the scoreline. But as you said, Stephen, 11 against 11, we were never going to win that game, let's face it. But 11 against 11, we might not have got the 5-0 drubbing that we did. But regardless of that, it's not even about the drubbing or not the drubbing. It's also just yet another example of just us doing things, or individuals doing things in games that cost us, because not only, it's a red card, and obviously we're a man down against, the best team in the Premier League. But then, regardless of what our opinions of him, it's another squad player that is unavailable for the next 3 games. So on top of all of the injuries that we have, on top of the lack of numbers in midfield, we now have our so-called experienced member, vice captain, whatever Arteta has done with regards to the armband. And then now he's not playing for 3 games. So it's like, it just doesn't make any sense. And it just, for me, that moment, it just epitomizes Xhaka's time in an Arsenal shirt. Because he has this self-destruct button, whether we are in, not all the time, but when we're in a good position in the match, or we're in a position where, it requires a level head, we kind of need to group together, get to half time, sort our act out. Maybe we can somehow get some maybe stability or consistency in the game, tighten up. He goes and does that. As soon as he's done that, that's it. The game's done. Like, if the game wasn't done before, the game's done at that point, because you can't play against Man City and the way they knock it about with 10 men. And our defense. You combine our defense, 1 man down, lack of confidence. Like, you're gonna get battered. We're lucky it wasn't less. We're lucky it wasn't more than 5. But yeah, for me, it just epitomizes the type of player Xhaka is. On his day, he's a decent player, but there's just been too many of these incidents where he's lost the ball, which has led to a goal, or he's made a rash challenge and he's got a red card, and he's put us in a more difficult position than we were in already. So, I don't know how Arsenal fans can defend him, because, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. It was a bad tackle and it was a red card. He deserved to get sent off. So for me, it was more to do with the fact that, he did that. And then, like you said, like, I understand why Arteta patted him on the back, because to a certain extent, not that I understand it, but I can see why he did it, because at the end of the day, he's publicly come out and backed this guy, which is crazy to me. But as you'll see, probably as the show goes on, I'm kind of very much turned the corner with the whole Arteta in the process, because I saw Pepe do something similar last season. I'm not even sure what game it was. I'm not even sure it was a tackle, but it was a needless challenge or needless moment of ill discipline, and he was sent off and he cost us the game. And Arteta's energy was very different. It was very, very different. He publicly kind of made a point to say that Pepe had let the team down. And at that point, I was quite happy with that, because I think, yeah, we've got a manager here that, is going to actually, put these players in their place. If they mess up, I'm going to tell you you've messed up, and you're going to have to come out and you're going to have to apologize. And Pepe did. But then in this instance, it was as careless and as reckless as that incident with Pepe, but there was kind of no talk of it. And I honestly think it was because right now it was almost like he can't publicly come out and say, oh, it was bad decision. He put us in a really difficult position in this league game, because he's just given him a new contract in the captain's armband after talking about Rome all summer. So it's just, we're talking about inconsistency from the officials. Arteta's consistency of late with regards how he reacts and doesn't react to certain players, I'm not massively impressed.
Okay. So we'll come to some of the comments then. Georgina, just when we need a leader, 2-0 down, he does that. No leader captain material there. Anybody who watches this show regularly will know how I feel about 34 and his captaining ability. Lottie, 34 should never lead us again. Lions AFC, just another player who does not care. Why on earth do we give him a new deal? Absolutely crazy. Do you know what? I couldn't agree with this more. And for all his posture and grabbing the badge in the preseason game when he scored, his home is where the heart is comment underneath the picture of him signing his contract extension. He does not care one bit about this club. And that tackle showed it. the fact that he could make a tackle like that when he is supposed to be a senior member, a leader of this team, to go in 2-footed, he knows he's going to get sent off for that. And as Lottie says in, there's a comment down here, Lottie had put in, that red card was basically him saying he's done for the day and he don't care. To me, that's exactly what it said. He doesn't care about this club, and anybody who tries to defend them and tell me that he cares about Arsenal Football Club, I'm sorry, but you've been sniffing too much glue, because there's no way that man cares about this club. He spent all summer twerking to go to Roma. His agent has even come out and said, that they tried to make it happen. He's disappointed, but he's happy to stay. The fact is, Roma didn't think he was worth whatever it was Arsenal wanted for him, and he's not. He's not worth it. Because as Lottie says, she would still sell him for my offer of a Twix and a packet of Monster Munch at this point. And me and Keith had a lovely debate over what flavour of Monster Munch we would actually get for him. And I said it wouldn't be the good flavour, like, roast beef or something. It would be flaming hot. And you said pickled onion.
Pickled onion, yeah. Pickled onion, Space Raiders. You certainly wouldn't get chocolate for him. I think you're asking too much.
Yeah. David there, his disciplinary record is awful. It is. I mean, he's over 10 sendings off in his career. I'm not sure exactly how many it is for Arsenal. I think it's 4 or 5. But he's had over 40 yellow cards for Arsenal. That's just crazy.
You know what the shocking thing about that is? He's not even an aggressive player.
No, he's not. You're right.
Like, he's not even an aggressive player. You know what I mean? He's not a Basuma, or he's not that type of player in the middle that's going to get in your face. Vieira had a bad disciplinary record, but Vieira was pumped up. He played with passion, and I understand it. I'm talking about Vieira, a player that's completely out of Xhaka's league. But at the same time, when you look at that type of player, you can see like they are naturally an aggressive player. They stick their foot in, they get stuck in, they tackle. He's not. His red cards and his yellow cards and his errors just come from complete, just nonsense play. Like just the wrong tackle at the wrong moment. It's nothing to do with the way he plays or anything like that. He just makes these rash decisions, and at the completely wrong time, in the completely wrong way, and he gets himself sent off because he's not an aggressive player. And when you look at his defensive record, you think to yourself, yeah, okay. If you look at his disciplinary record, you think he would be one of those in-your-face, centre mids that kind of puts himself about on the pitch, but he doesn't. He gets shrugged off the ball like as if he's not there. So I just don't get it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so a couple more comments then. Keith saying Lottie's in good form. Where have I got to there? Weezy J. Where's gone? Guys used to do these tackles back in the 80s and 90s, i.e. Vinnie Jones did it non-stop, but somehow never got sent off. But now you've no chance in hell getting away with it. Yeah, I mean, they did, but at the same time, there was a lot of stuff happened that, the game has moved on. And, whether we think it was a bad tackle or not is not the question here. The fact is, in the eyes of, the laws now in football, it was a dangerous tackle. And he knows that. And that's my issue. He knows what is a dangerous tackle. He knows going in 2 feet off the ground, studs up, is a dangerous tackle. So, whilst he may not have hurt the player, and yeah, as you say, Weezy, it's absolutely, you would have seen these tackles all the time. In today's game, you can't do it. And he let us down. Mike, perfect chance for Sambi and Party to keep 34 out of the team. Yeah, hopefully, hopefully we'll come back from the international break, and that's what we'll see. Lions AFC, thank God, international week, get Party back ASAP and play Sambi in the middle. 34 has had so many chances in an Arsenal shirt, still waiting for him to come over to the away fans to apologise. So many chances, and you know what? At this point in his career, he has had more red cards for Arsenal than he's had good games. That's it for me. Ryan, evening Ryan, how are you? How's that little puppy of yours? Ryan's a friend of the show, been with us since the start. Got a new puppy recently. Headbutt Alioski. Arteta has his favourite Lions AFC. Arteta has his favourites, like 34. Yeah, I mean, I never used to think that. I used to think it was all circumstance, but the more these things happen, the more I kind of have to say, yeah, I think he does have favourites. David, he'll be back for Spurs, though. Arteta will put him into the starting team. Weezy JG, you're spot on with what you're saying. Lottie, pickled onion monster munch is the one, though. It's not. We can't have pickled onion. If Arteta goes, 34 won't be in the side 100%. Well, you say that, but the problem is that, every manager we've had since he came to the club have picked him. So they're obviously seeing something that we don't see. And I just don't know what it is. David, pickled onion monster munch is a premium. Keith, what's going on here?
I'm not sure. There's some difference of opinion. We're going to start falling out over crisps now.
Better than football, isn't it? Let's just change the name of the channel. See if we'll get a sponsorship from Walkers.
Yeah.
We're going to do it. Why can't we? Keith, Basuma over 34 any day. Lottie saying yes to the pickled onion. Jay, 42 yellow cards, 4 red cards, and over 230 fouls committed. Wow.
It's like 5 seasons, isn't it? Is it 5 seasons?
Yeah. He came as a 23-year-old. That's shocking.
Says it all.
Yeah. What a stat from Lottie. I thought Lamella's was bad leaving the 2-bob mob. AFC pressure, sup gents. Hope you've been having a good bank holiday and we just managed to get here. No problem. Better to get here late than never. Ryan, all good. Thanks. Just put the little man to bed. Keith, better than beef. Haha. It's not. It's just not.
Really
Lottie.
not.
Just
You know what? I gotta
your
agree
rhyme
though.
and stop typing.
Pickled onion is my favorite monster munch flavor.
Is it?
It
Beef.
is.
Beef.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It
Keith,
is.
why are we associating with these people?
I don't know.
Do you know what? I think we'll have to do a poll on this tomorrow.
Yeah, go for it.
The best
Go for
flavored
it.
monster munch.
Go for it. Go for it.
Pickled onion is seriously, we've got to get off the monster munch conversation. Andy, I feel a new song coming on, 34 undefeated. Lions AFC was at the game Saturday, and I'm wondering why Ainsley Maitland-Niles can't get in over Cedric. He was awful. Yeah, I mean, we'll come on to that in a wee second, because Maitland-Niles is someone we want to talk about tonight. I knew G had my back. Yeah. Those are both getting booted off this channel. AFC pressure. Pickled onion is the only flavour. If I wanted something that tastes beef, I have a steak. Oh, do you know what? No, I'm not having it anymore.
Oh, gosh.
Done. That's the end of the show for tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Goodbye.
Good fun.
All right, so listen, we'll move on. Obviously, we went 3-0 down before half-time. Second half, I'm just going to fire through the rest of this pretty quick. Second half, he brings on El Neni at the start of the half for Saka. I'm assuming tactical because we haven't heard anything in terms of Saka being injured or anything. Lacazette comes on after 59 minutes for Aubameyang. And Maitland-Niles comes on after 71 minutes for Odegaard and plays in midfield. And it's telling, it's strange that, we're saying about, or Lions FC saying about him starting at right back, but it's 2 games that he's featured in so far. He's coming in midfield. And I can see that smile on your face, G, because I can also see the comment from Lottie saying about her mum voting for Pickled Onion too. Stop.
Yes, Lottie's mom. Yes.
Alison, you're not allowed to watch the show anymore. Mike, Flamin' Hot is the best one. Pickled Onion are horrible. Good man. But Flamin' Hot are rotten as well. At least we can cheer ourselves up with a bit of Monster Munch chat. LOL. Do you know what? If anybody's tuning into this show for the first time, they're going to wonder what's going on.
Yeah.
we're supposed to be getting angry and frustrated about Arsenal, and we're debating flavours of Monster Munch. So yeah, listen, guys, that was kind of it. They scored another 2 goals, and we lost 5-0. I don't really want to talk about it anymore because I am actually feeling quite cheery now after this whole Monster Munch conversation. But sum it up for me, Keith. I mean, sum up your opinion of the game, the tactics, the overall result. How did it leave you feeling?
2 things really. Going back to something that G mentioned earlier, I think we could have lost by a lot more. We were lucky it weren't double figures. Like Sterling could have had 4 off the bench in, what was he on, the last 15, 20 minutes. So that's one thing I want to say. And the other is just the complete lack of fight. I say this all the time. It's like my minimum requirement is for those lads out there to care about it as much as I do. You know, that's where you start from. If you lose to a better team with better players and they play you off the park, you got to hold your hands up sometimes and just say, fair game, you were really, really good. But we didn't put them under any pressure whatsoever. When you're playing against a team like this, if you know you're going to get played off the park, you've got to make sure you match their work rate and their intensity. You don't give them any time on the ball wherever possible. And then, like I said earlier, maybe you get a chance to hit them on the break and you can steal a 1-0 off them. But there was nothing. There was no press. There was a bit at the start of the game where they were literally just strolling the ball around. Aubameyang stood 10 feet away from them. I think him and Saka were looking at each other. It was almost like no one knew whether they were supposed to press or not. And for the rest of the game, there were some players who did try. And I'm not going to defend number 34, but by putting that tackle in, at least he might have left his studs on someone because no one else wanted to. And that's the thing that gets me really, really, really angry is there's no fight. Just literally no fight. And, you know, at the point now, this has been going on for too long. You've got to start looking at the manager. Why is there no fight in the players? That's it. I'm mostly disgusted with the manner in which we've lost the game so far this season.
Okay. Jay, your thoughts?
For me, in kind of like having you know, a couple of days to kind of, you know, stew over my thoughts and kind of reflect on the game and the season so far, I just don't know what we're good at anymore. I just think there are massive question marks about us tactically, defensively, offensively, going forward. And for me, it's just, you know, it was a dreadful performance. It really, really was. Apart from maybe the first kind of 5 to 10, 15 minutes. As Keith said, you know, we were never going to beat them, you know, man for man, quality for quality. But, you know, there's so much more to football than just, you know, they have better players than us. You know, because you can see it, you know, in sport, you know, you can get a result or you have a chance of getting a result if you approach the game right and if you're motivated, if you're inspired, if you care, you know, you can perform better. And I don't think Arsenal fans, you know, we wouldn't be sitting here feeling the way we feel if we felt as though the team tried and they had turned up and actually put in a performance. But for me, the massive question mark I have is I just don't know what we're good at. Like, honestly, like I can't see, you know, I see the tactics being changed from game to game. It's almost like Arteta has been watching, you know, our lives and thought, oh, you know what? I better pick a back 5 because all the Arsenal fans on Twitter think I should pick a back 5. So I'm gonna change my tactics. It's like it's just, I don't know. For me, it's like, just to kind of sum it up in hindsight, I just don't know what we're good at. I don't think there were any positives to be taken away from that game. It was poor defending. It was toothless up front. There was a rash challenge, you know, from a player that has done it before, you know, one of many players that have done a similar thing before. And there was just no positives to take from that game whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I said at the start, for me, the biggest issue, it wasn't the fact that we lost the game because we weren't expecting to get anything. It's the manner and how we lost it. It's just the complete lack of fight. how we went for an entire match and didn't have a shot on goal. It's crazy. And don't get me wrong, our last 2 games have been against the champions of Europe and then the English League winners, who were the runners-up in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking on 2 very good teams who have both arguably strengthened better than we have.
Yeah.
So we are getting left behind, but at the same time, you want 11 players on the pitch who fight for the badge, who want to be there. And I didn't see that. I really didn't, and that's what hurts. That's what annoys me, and that's what gets to me. So yeah, I mean, overall, it was disappointing. There's no other word for it. It was at times shambolic, embarrassing. There was times there was words that weren't strong enough, and I'm not one for using a lot of bad language. And Lottie and G will tell you that in our conversations and stuff. It's a very rare occasion you'll ever hear me use bad language or see me type bad language. But the language coming out of me on Saturday after that match was quite blue. And that's, probably more blue than this new Cannon Chatter top. Plugging the merchandise there. But you know what? It's just, I just can't take a season of watching players who don't care. If they cared and they fought and they showed passion, yes, I'd care if they lost every match. Of course I would. But at the same time, I wouldn't, if that makes sense. If I saw them fighting for the badge and we weren't getting the results, I could cope with it. There's no fight. There's no love for the club there. As I say, when you have players like 34 coming out and grabbing at the badge and, making comments that this is their home and stuff, it's not, they don't care. The Arsenal fans care. We get it. We understand it, but they don't. And it just makes me sick. So, yeah, it was a disaster. We've lost 3 in a row in the league. And it's Norwich next after the international break. And we've got to turn it around. We've got to start winning some games. And we're going to come on to Arteta in a wee second, but I just want to go back through a couple more of these comments here. So Jay, pickled onion or none at all? We'll get back to the important conversation here of the night. Keith, you hate Monster Munch. This clearly is not the show for you then. Let me see. Ryan, Monster Munch has to be the worst brand of crisp in the world. Oh, it's not a crisp, it's a corn puff, if you want to be technical, but no. No one can defend 34 anymore. Diluted if you can now. AFC pressure. Arteta gave 34 a pat on the back after being sent off. Was it possible that Arteta told him to send the board a lesson? I don't know. No. I just think 34 is just that bad. Lions FC, Norwich put up a better fight than us. Game plan was Leonard to shift it long and feed off scraps, trying to beat Diaz and Laporte in the air is ridiculous. Yeah. Mr. Silver Fox, evening fellas, evening Tony, how are you? How did Weymouth get on at the weekend? I didn't see the results. David, we're good at losing. For G, you saying you're not sure what we're good at. We're good at losing.
Yeah.
No passion, no guts, not fit to wear our wonderful shirt. Lottie, there's maybe 6 at the moment and 2 are newbies that play for the badge. Mike, we should now win our next 8 games until our next defeat on November 2nd versus Liverpool. What's wrong, G?
No chance. We're not going to win our next 8 games. Not a chance.
Okay. Lottie saying only Hill End seem to care. And Lions FC, Saka, Smith Rowe, Tierney. Yeah. Okay. So it leads us on then to, who do we blame? Is it the players? Is it the board? Is it Edu? Is it Arteta? And, I think there's always been a crowd of Arsenal fans that have been Arteta out pretty much from the start. he got a little bit of grace by winning the FA Cup, then the Community Shield. But last season, that base started to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. This season, we've got off to such a poor start that it's a seismic shift in people across the Arteta out. Keith, I mean, what's your feelings on Arteta right now? Is he done? Is it time for him to go?
I think he's about 95% done, is how I would describe it. I don't see how he pulls this back round. And another point that G made earlier that I totally agree with, it's like the constant changing. It's the changing of tactics, the changing of personnel. It's like he played Chambers at right back and then he puts him in centre back against Man City, for crying out loud. And looking at what he did against Villarreal in the first leg of the semi last season. And it's almost like he's panicking. And I thought before, is he watching Twitter and social media? Because he seems to like everyone puts like we all do our little the maps of the pitch, and everyone's got their formations, and he does seem to follow what the majority are looking at quite frequently. So you might have something there, G. But how bad is it that our next game against Norwich, there's so much pressure on that game? It's like, I know it's, people are joking it's a relegation 6-pointer, but from his point of view, that's a must-win game. That's at home to Norwich. No disrespect to Norwich, my mum supports them, but it's a really bad situation. He's making so many mistakes, and I've stuck by him for the longest time. I haven't been Arteta in or out for quite a while, but I'm starting to go the outside of things because I just don't see how he pulls it back around. I actually feel sorry for the guy. I don't think he should have got the job in the first place. He doesn't look like he was ready for it. It's your first job as a manager and you come to manage Arsenal. That's huge. And I've always got the feeling that he maybe got the job because he was a cheaper option than anyone else who was in the hat at the time. I may be wrong, but those are just my humble opinions. But he's definitely on borrowed time.
Okay. D?
Yeah, I envision he's going to get sacked at some point. I honestly believe that, he similar to what Keith said, I don't think he's going to turn this around. And I don't know who it was that put up about us potentially going on to win the next 8 games. Impossible. I do not see it. I would be... If Arteta, if we pull off, if we win 8 games out of the next 8 games we have, I will get an Arteta in tattoo. 100%. There is no way on this planet that we're going to win the next 8 games. We're just not. Like, we lost to Brentford. Like, a newly promoted team. Yes, it was the opening game of the season. Yes, it was their cup final. We had a lot of first team players out, but still, the team we put out there was still good enough to beat Brentford, and we couldn't get a result. We weren't even close to getting a result. So for me, I think the game against Norwich is a must-win game, and I think a lot of the games coming up right now, other than any of the teams, I think if we lose to any of the teams in the top 6 or 7 clubs, I don't think will be enough for him to go with the board. But that's different to what the fans' opinion is. But I think if he beats, and wins, the Norwich, the Burnleys, the AFC, Wimbledon, and those type of games, I think the board will stick with him. But for me, the problem with this whole Arteta in, Arteta out thing is that I believe that a lot of people that are Arteta out, they're Arteta out because they blame this current situation of Arsenal FC and where we are on Arteta. I don't do that. Like, for me, even though I am Arteta out at this point, that's not based on the fact that where we are, because I think there is a much bigger picture in terms of, the poor recruitment that we do, the way the clubs run, the lack of investment, etc., etc. This club's been in decline for 17 odd years, 20 odd years. It's been a gradual process, but you can see it year after year after year. We've been falling behind. So I don't think we can blame Arteta for where we are as a club. However, football is a results business. And okay, we lost to Chelsea. Okay, we lost to City. But they have better squads than us. So where is the defense in terms of getting beat 2-0 by Brentford? So it's like it's not looking good. And I honestly believe if he doesn't go before the Spurs game, I think he'll be gone by either the Leicester or the Liverpool game. I don't honestly see him finishing. I don't see him getting to Christmas. In all honesty, from what I've seen of the way the players are playing, like I don't see them playing for him. I don't see it. All this ill behavior off the pitch. Instagram posts and holiday posts, and for me it just seems like he's just kind of losing it. He's just losing the grip of the actual club and the job itself. And in all honesty, he's not built for this position. I said it way back in one of our first ever lives. I said he's a rookie. When you actually look at it, I've supported him and I will continue to support him. Even though I do feel as though now is the time to actually, get rid of him and bring in somebody who is very experienced. And when I say very experienced, we need a manager, not even a proven winner. We need an experienced manager who can come in and just get back some stability and some consistency. We need somebody to come in and kind of just steady the ship, because at the moment it's sinking, and it's sinking rapidly. We literally need somebody to get behind the, jump on the ship and just kind of captain this team. And even if they can just get us to the end of the season, kind of damage limitation, because at the moment I see it spiraling. But he's just not built for this. This job came too early for Arteta. The Arsenal right now, we are a mess, and we're a mess on the pitch and we're a mess off the pitch. And I honestly don't believe that he has the experience to actually turn it around, because we've sat here and we've said, oh, he don't have the players, but yet he was given 129 million and look what he bought. So why would you buy 5 squad players when you could have easily bought 2 first team starters? So it's one of those things. It's like, I'm starting to kind of lose. I'm kind of starting to lose or run out of excuses. We said, oh, he wants to play football like Man City, but then he's bought players that can't get into our first team. It just doesn't make sense. It really, really doesn't make sense. So there's a huge question marks about Arteta, and I think even though the club is in a crazy position, I think from top to bottom. I think the Cronkies need to go. I think Edu has done a horrible job this summer in the recruitment. But the problem is the manager it's just like everything in it. The manager will always get the chop because he's the one that's managing the team, and it comes down to results. So if anybody's going to go, it's going to be Arteta, and I can see it happening sooner than a lot of people think. I am very questionable whether we are going to win both the games against Norwich and Burnley. Honestly, I don't honestly see it. So I think, for me personally, if we don't get maximum points from both the Norwich and the Burnley game, he needs to go. 100% needs to go, because as much as I've said all these things about the squad not being good enough and the investment being wrong, you have a squad there that's good enough to beat Brentford. You have a squad there which, if you set up tactically right, could put in a better performance against Chelsea and Man City. So at the moment, I'm really struggling to find the excuses to keep giving him. And I just think, you know what? The guy, as much as I love him and as much as I want him to do well, and I really do wish he can turn this around. I really do, because I don't want us to have to sack another manager and bring somebody in new. And mainly because I don't trust the Kroenkes to bring in the right person. I actually believe they'll sack him and they'll bring in a manager, you know, of a similar level, you know, and that's the real worry. But yeah, I know I've been ranting on a bit, but yeah, I'm Arteta out, but I'm not gonna like vilify the guy on social media and jump on the bandwagon and, you know, do all of that hashtagging Arteta out. I just feel like the job's too big for him, and I think he needs to go away, you know, get some experience elsewhere, and maybe return to the job one day. But yeah, he's gonna go before Christmas. He's gone.
Okay. But just before we come on to the next bit, was how we replace him. We want to have a look at some of these comments, but I just want to say we have it on record, and I just want everybody to be very clear. G has stated that if we win the next 8 games, he will get an Arteta in tattoo.
100%. 100%.
That can be watched back at any time on this YouTube video.
100%.
He said it. This is streaming live on YouTube, on Twitter /Periscope.
If we win on the next 8 games in the Premier League, I'm getting an Arteta in tattoo.
Shush.
I'll do it.
So we're streaming this live on Twitter /Periscope, on Facebook, on YouTube. And from tomorrow, it's going out on Spotify and iTunes and from wherever else you get your podcasts. So you've all heard it here. If we win it, we will be getting to see an Arteta in tattoo. So let's have a look at some of these comments before we move into how we replace Arteta. Lottie saying she's still on the fence. Don't ask her how. Wheezy J, Emery wasn't this annoying. He just had a style of football that wasn't very proactive. The All Fans Premier League show and North Bank Summit. Evening Leroy. It's actually Liam. That's just a wee private joke there. How are you? If you haven't had a chance, get over and check out Liam's channel. Keith, he has done not a clue. Bye. Lions AFC, 18 months in, and he doesn't know his best 11. That's a massive problem. Keith agrees with Keith. Gee, don't say that. I'm going to the Norwich game. Got to Jay. I was asked earlier if I thought Arteta has failed as a manager, and I didn't know how to answer the question. Won us 2 pieces of silverware, but that only goes so far, 100% on borrowed time. Lions FC, I think we scrape Norwich 2-1, and we will lose to Burnley, then he will go. David, Burnley away will be tough, then Spurs. Norwich has to be a win. Mike, but every time we sign someone or they sign new deals, it's always because of Arteta. The players seem to want to play for him. They just ain't good enough. Yeah. And this then Lions could have bought Basuma, White, and Tavares for 110. I mean, we've talked about this, and I've said before that, you know, one of our biggest weaknesses was we didn't have any strength on the bench, and we arguably have fixed that a little. But we spent this 130 million, and for me, we're no stronger than we were at the end of last season.
Yep.
And that's the problem, is that we haven't actually improved the team. We've matched what we had. We now have 1 day to go out and improve the team. And realistically, it's probably not going to happen. Antonio, wonderful show. My Gunner's still at work, but listening in. Good man. You'll be glad to know you can get it on podcasts from tomorrow. I like banging on about this, by the way. Andy giving us wee clappy hands. Lottie B, I still like the idea of Basuma, but AFCON puts me off. Midfield will vanish completely for up to 6 weeks. Yeah, absolutely. Lottie G, will we see return of G Rants Arsenal?
I was going to ask that earlier, actually.
It's close. It's close.
Isn't going to happen, G. I don't think G has anything to worry about.
Not at all.
Not going to happen, though. So I think you're safe, G. Agree with G. We will all go at some point. He will go at some point. Sorry, Liam. Antonio, can we please bring back Charlie George? And Nikolai Stefanovic. Hope we got that name right. Short had a video of us how to defend with 10 men. Yeah. Defending was awful. So listen, guys, I mean, if it happened, and I mean, there's rumors out there that he is going to be gone during this international break. I don't see it myself. But if he was to go, who do we replace him with? And that's a tough question because arguably the best manager out there available is Conte. We all know that. But would Conte come and work with the Cronkies? Sky Italia tonight are reporting that apparently he is interested. I've seen the other day that he isn't interested. I personally can't see him wanting to come to Arsenal. But you never know. David saying Big Sam to keep us up.
Might get to that stage.
What's that?
I said it might get to that stage, calling Big Sam.
Yeah. So I just want to bring something up on screen before I get your opinion. And I'll just read this out. This is a screenshot from Sky Bet of the next permanent manager for Arsenal and the odds. And I'll just run through this very quickly for obviously those people who are listening on the podcast. So it starts off, we've got Antonio Conte and Brendan Rodgers both at 3-1. You then have Eddie Howe at 6-1, Graham Potter 12-1, Ralph Hasenhüttl 14-1, Christophe Galtier 16-1, Paulo Fonseca 16-1, Thierry Henry 16-1, Freddie Ljungberg 18-1, and Wenger at 20-1. And obviously, I mean, there's lots of other names out there. I'm sure we all have an idea of who we would want. Keith, for you, how do we replace Arteta?
It's a good question. I think firstly, whatever managers you're looking at, I don't think anyone's going to be that interested in touching Arsenal with a barge pole, to be perfectly honest, while we've got the current owners in place. So you've either got to be a bit mad, a bit green, or looking to trade up. So from that list there, I would potentially look at Graham Potter or Ralph Hasenhüttl. The only other one I would look at, I'm trying not to think about it because I'm the same as G. You know, I want him to succeed. Just can't see it happening now. So I've tried not to think about who would take his place. I don't think Conte will, just purely because of the money that he wouldn't be given to spend. I really like Bielsa. I know we wouldn't get him in a million years because he's settled at Leeds, but I love that bloke. And I'd take him over anyone else on that list if he was available. Again, just my humble opinions. But Graham Potter, I think, would be a good choice.
Okay. G?
Yeah, from that list, and I know we're sitting here saying that Conte wouldn't come, but from that list, it would be only Conte for me. I wouldn't particularly be interested in any other of those managers. If any of them got it, I'd support them as I did when Arteta got it, even though I wasn't thrilled he came in. But it would be a similar feeling. I'd be quite underwhelmed if any of them got it other than Conte. But I have to agree with Keith. I'll take the Leeds manager. I think right now, like I said kind of earlier, I think we need a wealth of experience because it's not good on and off the pitch. And I think somebody of his experience coming into the club, the type of man and manager he is, and the way he's got Leeds playing, really, really attractive football. I wouldn't be disappointed if we brought him to the club. But yeah, from that list, Conte or other than Conte, none of the other names would interest me.
Okay. Before we go into some of the comments there on their opinions, I'll share mine. I mean, for me, there are two managers aside from Conte who I would go for. Unfortunately, the problem is that neither of them are going to be available for another 14 months until after the World Cup in Qatar. And that is Roberto Mancini, the Italy manager, or Luis Enrique, the Spanish manager. For me, Enrique is the sort of manager who would play the brand of football that we've come to expect at Arsenal, that we used to see under Wenger, that sort of fast-flowing, attacking football. Mancini, it wouldn't be quite as fast-flowing, but he's a winner, and he's proven to taking teams that shouldn't win and making them win. My issue with Bielsa is, whilst he's a good manager, he's never really won much in his career. You know, and it was the same with Sarri. When Sarri went to Chelsea, he'd never won a trophy until they beat us in the UEFA Cup final. That was the first time he'd ever won a trophy as a manager. So Bielsa, as I say, whilst he's a good manager, he's not a proven winner. And that would be my concern with him. So yeah, for me, Mancini or Luis Enrique would be the ones I would go for. That's just my personal opinion. So we'll have a look at some of these comments. Lions FC Money Talks. AFC Pressure Cell 34, and that'll pay Conte's wages for the year. Weezy J, Eddie Howe name even came up. What are you saying on that one? Sorry, Weezy, are you saying that you don't know how it came up, or that he's one you would consider? David, Lottie B, forfeit if we get Conte. Gary, hello, Stephen G and Keith. I'm so glad the transfer window is closed. Not quite, another 24 hours to go. In fact, it is not just over 24 hours to go.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that after. But if anybody hasn't seen Gary's new show, he's doing a show on the Red Cannon, which I believe is called Extra Time, I believe, and it's on tonight at 12:30 UK time. So we'll be done in plenty of time if anybody wants to go and catch that. I am right in those times, I think, Gary, but if not, just drop it in the chat there and let us know. Georgina, Brendan Rodgers, old chap lips, no, not for me. Can't be having him. Lottie, he left because they had to sell their star players and wouldn't give him more for new ones. Yes, they're on the floor, but he wants to win. Board have no ambition anyway. Jay, would you take Zidane? Guys, either you take Zidane?
Yeah, I would.
Better than what we got now, I suppose. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll take Zidane. But that one, if I can't see Conte happening, I definitely can't see Zidane happening. But yeah, I'll take Zidane, definitely.
Yeah, Zidane for me is another one that would need big money. Definitely. Lottie would take Graham Potter, possibly. Lions FC also would tell some of our players some home truths, and he'd make them team more organised. Shame he's just signed a new deal. Mike, Steve McLaren. I mean, he's in nearly every other job in football. But does he like Monster Munch?
That's the question.
Thing. I know I just want a manager that's going to sit on the side of the pitch and eat Monster Munch. Bielsa would make a few squad players cry. Yeah, okay. Jay, I'd take Potter, but he doesn't have that big club experience, which could go against him. Liam, some great choices there. Keith, agree with Stephen about the managers. NDB30 TV, evening, how are you? Arteta is good with the press, it seems, but his talking on the pitch is BS. Conte would be amazing for Arsenal. Yeah, it's funny, I said that the other night to G when we were having a conversation that, you know, Arteta, he has been well schooled and he is amazing when it comes to talking to the press. You know, he knows exactly what he's saying. Weezy J, one I would consider for him to take charge. Eddie Howe, sorry. Do you know what? Eddie Howe, I don't know. He flatters to deceive, I would say. Liam would like Rodgers, but would take the experience of Mancini or Bielsa. I can wholeheartedly say that if Brendan Rodgers ever gets the Arsenal job, I will be Brendan Rodgers out from the minute it's announced. Can't stand him. He's a choker. He won titles at Celtic, and quite frankly, any of us on this channel, any of you guys in the chat, you could win titles at Celtic when he did. So, Gary, Stephen, you're correct. The Extra Time podcast in the Red Cannon is on tonight at 12:30 a.m. UK time, 7:30 p.m. US Eastern time. Thanks for the mention. No problem. No problem at all. Keith, yeah, Zidane attracts good players. And Mike, Zidane wouldn't come as he won't have that endless amount of money. He's only really had one job in the game. Is he genuinely better than Arteta? And Lottie, Rodgers out. Yeah, no, can't. It's Stop being rude. Stop your drinking. Right. Okay. I think at this point we will take a short break, and we'll come back and we'll have a quick chat about some of the transfer stuff that's going on, as there has been obviously a bit of movement today with some players. So yeah, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. So don't go anywhere. Okay, so tomorrow is obviously deadline day, and we will be doing some shows, but we will mention those later on. We have seen a little bit of movement today from the club, and the first thing we'll cover these comments. Rodgers nearly won the Prem with Liverpool. Yes, but he didn't, and he nearly got into the top 4 with Leicester for the last 2 seasons. But he didn't, because he chokes at the end. Nearly isn't good enough. Yeah, I'm not having to go at you, NDB30 TV, when you say that. It's just I'm just not a fan of Brendan Rodgers. If we were taking Rodgers, we might as well take Neil Lennon, whose record is just as good at Celtic. Yeah, absolutely, and I wouldn't have him either. Lottie's on her best behaviour. Never, Lottie. I know AFC pressure. Okay, so yeah. We have seen a couple of, one certainly definitely one icon today, which is Aziz has joined Portsmouth on a season-long loan. I'm a little disappointed because I hope we would have seen a bit of him in the first team this year. But at the same time, going out on loan, getting regular first-team football at a club like Portsmouth, where we've lent players to before, Smith Rowe went there. Before he had his time at Huddersfield as well, and it did him the world of good. Portsmouth are a decent club, League One club. So, I mean, Keith, what do you think of this? Is he's moving out for a year?
I think it's a really good move. I'm the same. I did kind of want to see him putting some appearances in for us, but then if he got thrown into a league game with us at the moment, it's probably not going to do him much good. He's probably much better off going to Portsmouth for the season, and if doing that can have the same impact as it did on Emile, then it's great for him. It's great for the club as well. So yeah, I think that's a good move.
Okay, G.
Yeah, no, it is a good move. I think there was a lot of talk about him potentially staying, in and around the first team, but I personally don't see there being a huge amount of opportunities for him. I think particularly, we're not involved in, either the Europa Conference League or the Europa League. So, those games where we could have potentially used him and not going to be there. So even though, we do have, I would say, limited options in the middle, I think in terms of his development at this point, it's best for him to go to a team like Portsmouth, get regular first team football, first team minutes, and hopefully come back, bigger and better, with a bit more experience and further development under his belt, and hopefully, push on next year. If not, maybe potentially even another loan. But yeah, looks a really, really good player. Seen snippets of him in pre-season during some of the friendlies for both the senior team and the under-23s, and he looks a good player. He comes highly rated, so yeah, wish him all the best for the season.
Yeah, okay. A couple of comments there. Russ, evening everyone. Evening, Russ. Lottie saying good move for him on the experience front. Lions FC, how's Wolves getting Renato Sanchez on loan? Do you know what? Just in case anybody thinks I was being rude and not listening to Keith and G when they were talking, I wasn't. I was literally just checking my phone for some of the updates. Because obviously if we're going to talk about transfers, I want to sort of see if there's anything new tonight. And that's one I've just seen, that deal for Renato Sanchez to Wolves on loan from Lille is almost done.
Madness.
It's just crazy that this is happening. We're getting nobody. People moan about this move on Twitter. He's not going to play for us, so get him first team football. Obviously, you're talking about Aziz here. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to get first team football. He's certainly not going to get regular first team football. I would have liked to see him, as he got a few minutes in the Carabao Cup and maybe, in the early rounds of the FA Cup, if we get a favourable draw, and to potentially, be on the bench for some of the Premier League games, certainly against some of the lesser teams. Although, having said that, there is no lesser teams than us right now, based on league position. But, he is the sort of player that, you would have liked to have seen on the bench against the likes of the Burnleys and the Norwich and stuff like that. If things were going well, you bring him on, you get him a few minutes, just keep getting that wee bit more experience. But, certainly going out on loan for a season will do him no harm at all. And hopefully he'll come back a better player for it. Lions AFC, have you seen what AFC Bell has tweeted in relation to what? If you don't mind me asking, because I've seen something earlier on about a couple of different things he was tweeting out. So which story is it you're meaning? NW30TV, please keep Ainsley. We'll come on to that in a wee minute or two. AFC Pressure asking at Lion AFC. My question is, how are close to signing Emerson Royal? Yeah. Close. And Jay, Ainsley Maitland is looking like he's begging to leave. Yeah, but I said we'll come on to him in a minute. That one, Emerson Royal going to them up the road. Apparently, it's come out tonight as well that we were talking to Barcelona about this, and that Barcelona wanted €20 million plus Hector Bellerin for Emerson, and we offered 10 million plus him, and they basically went, nah, Spurs are offering better, we'll go to them. I mean, what's your thoughts on this, guys?
It's disappointing, basically. I mean, so that essentially would make him a £30 million player, which he probably is. I can't believe that we're thinking that we could use Bellerin as a 20 million make weight. I know, most of us are not Hector's biggest fan, but every time he plays, he gets worse. And every time they put him in the shop window, his value decreases. He's not a £20 million player. It's the same as Granit Xhaka is not an £18 million player. Sorry, number 34 isn't an 18 or £20 million player. Not in my books, anyway. In fact, I'd like to throw some roast beef flavoured those ridged crisps, with the ridges like McCoy's and all that. They're nice. So I'd perhaps throw them in. But it's stupid. We've missed out. We've missed out yet again by mucking around. And let's face it, I mean, I'm feeling quite negative about the transfer window now. I don't see us getting a right back at all. I think we made a real mistake there.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a real worry that we could go into the season with having number 2 still there at the club. G, what's your thoughts?
Oh, mate. I said to you guys earlier, I said, I think one of the main reasons, as much as obviously, I love Twitter, I love interacting. I do love hearing about all the kind of transfer rumors coming in and out of the club, but I do also feel like the kind of constant, the constant reporting and information that we do now have, at our fingertips with regard to social media, particularly Twitter for us football fans and Arsenal fans, it doesn't help us in terms of like where we are, because obviously we look at our team and we know the areas in which we need to strengthen. We know the players that we need to get rid of, and obviously the lack of movement outside of the club combined with the lack of movement coming into the club, and then when you are linked with players that you could see would instantly improve on what we've already got. And then they are obviously signing for, rival teams or other teams, etc. It's not nice. And the right back situation is a huge issue. Like, it's not only do we need a new right back, we've got about 25 right backs. And it's like none of them are good enough. Or either not good enough or the manager and the club don't believe they're good enough to start. So Yeah, it's a massive issue. It's a massive issue because, Emerson Royal is a good player. In terms of what we've got, he's better than what we've got. And he would improve our first 11. So I think, for me, and I think for a lot of Arsenal fans, it's very frustrating that other teams, rival teams, are strengthening, buying players that we've potentially been linked with or have been in talks with, are obviously buying these players, and we're still in the same position where we've got Cedric, Chambers, Bellerin, Ainsley, and all the issues with regards, does he want to play there, does he want to not play there, etc., etc. That's 4 right backs, potential right backs, that have all featured recently. One in midfield, one in centre back, one got a game finally, and Bellerin is probably, in Milan on a catwalk somewhere. So it's just like, it's such a huge mess, the right back situation. And somebody literally, probably our director of football, needs to just go in there and just sort it out. Like, we don't care how it's done. We just need him to go in there and just sort it out. Sell 2, if not 3 of them, bring in 1, and just get the job done. That's what we need. But with, with just over 24 hours, we're likely to go till at least January with those same 4 options still in the squad, if all reports are to be believed at this point.
Yeah, and therein lies the problem. And for me, much as we can question Arteta's tactics and his choice of lineups and stuff, the Cronkies, we know, and it's not going to change. The Cronkies are the biggest issue at this club. They are the number 1 issue at this club, and until they go, we will probably never compete in terms of being, league winners.
Yeah.
But Edu has massively failed at his job. He has massively failed. Don't get me wrong, we've brought in 5 players, and I can't complain about a single one of those 5 players we've brought in this window. They're all arguably good for what they've been brought in for. Sambi looks very, very good. Tavares as a backup left back, it's really good. Ben White, jury's still out. He's not a £50 million player, but he's still a very good defender. And he's a ball playing defender, which is what we need. Odegaard, I mean, he's not what we all wanted. We all were sort of hoping for the Madison signing, but we got Odegaard back, and Odegaard is a good player. And we've seen that, certainly in the game against West Brom. And unfortunately, you kind of go, it was only West Brom, but you can only beat what's in front of you. And to a man, everybody was crap on Saturday. So, you can't single them out and say, oh, he had a poor game. So Odegaard is a good signing, especially for the money. And Ramsdale, we have given him some stick in this channel. We've said we didn't want them. But we have to support him. And, the talk is he is actually a lot better than we give him credit for. And a lot of the fans and stuff of clubs that he's played for, he's been player of the season for 2 or 3 of them. Albeit, they may have got relegated, but he's still been the player of the season. And, these fans saying that they would have been a lot worse off if it hadn't been for him. So, I can't really question the signings, but I can question the outgoings and why we have failed to get rid of so many players. Why we have failed to be able to agree a deal with Roma to get number 34 out the door when everybody wanted that deal to happen. And it's all well and good Arteta turning around saying, oh no, we didn't want to, we weren't trying to sell him. We were actively trying to get rid of him because we wanted to get somebody else in. So why that couldn't happen? Why number 2 still at the club when we all know he wants to go? Why you have Lacazette, Reece Nelson, Elneny, Kalashnik, all with 1 year left in their contract. Eddie and Kedia, there's another one. And that's another one that looks like it's fallen through tonight, Crystal Palace.
Yeah. Because
they offered 10 million. We wanted 20. They said 12. We said we want 20. And it's fallen through. So whilst I get this whole idea of we don't want to be seen as pushovers, we need to be getting these players out of the club. we need to just get them out, get them off the books. And Edu has not done that. He is slow, and I was saying this to the guys the other night in a private chat, on our group. The talk is very much that Edu does everything through intermediaries. He doesn't contact clubs himself directly. He goes through back channels to find out if the players are interested, to find out how much it would cost to actually buy them. And he does all of this, and it goes on for weeks. And apparently, Vinay and Arteta are really, really pissed off about it because it takes so long to get things done. And they actually feel they've lost out on some transfers because of it. So for me, obviously not tomorrow, but on Wednesday morning, Edu needs to be brought in by Josh Kroenke and said, it's not working, see you, bye-bye. And the talk is, and there was somebody mentioned it in the chat, and I know kind of ignored the chat there for a few minutes, but Mark Overmars, apparently Ray Parler said today that Mark Overmars had texted him and said he wanted to come back, basically as director of football, to sort things out. I'm not saying no, but has Mark Overmars done enough at Ajax to warrant getting this job? Or are we just going into another situation where we're given an we call Overmars a legend. He was only at the club for 3 years, albeit a very successful 3 years, but he was here for 3 years before he left for Barcelona. But do we really want to give another club legend that role, or do we want to get someone who knows what they're doing, like Ranganek or someone like that? Keith, what's your thoughts on Edu and the director of football position right now?
I think it's been absolutely diabolical, to be honest with you, especially with what you're saying just now about the back channels and the intermediaries. That unless he's been working behind the scenes for the last week and keeping stuff from us, there's nothing getting done tomorrow if this is how he does his business. There's so many players he should have got rid of. And do you know what? A lot of clubs were going to hold their bids till the end, like the one for Eddie, 10 million, because Palace know if they had come in a month ago with 10 million for Eddie, we would definitely have turned it away. They were hoping that we would say, right, we've got a day left and we're going to let him go. But you've got to think, none of us want our pants took down over the price of players that we want to sell. But also you've got to think, what's his wages? They've got another year of his wages. Whatever that's going to be, it's going to be millions and millions of pounds. And then in a year's time, he's just going to go for free anyway. So he might as well have made 10 million and got his wages off the books. But yeah, I'm not impressed. Yeah, the signings we've made are good. And I've got to hold my hands up to the Ramsdale thing, because after watching him against West Brom, I know it wasn't a top team. But he looks like he's a good signing, and I think he probably will do really, really well. But we've got too many players there who are still there that shouldn't be there any longer. And I think we need to be a bit more realistic with our pricing of these players. Joe Willock may have gone a little bit cheap, but I still say with number 34, Eddie, Bellerin, we're asking too much money for them. They're not that sought after. We've got to be realistic. We are not going to get 20 million for Bellerin and Nketiah or number 34. It's just ain't going to happen. But Edu shouldn't be there after Wednesday. I don't know about Mark Overmars. I don't know what he's done at Ajax, to be perfectly honest. I'd much rather see somebody who understands the English scene with experience. It feels like Edu got the job because of his contact book, because of his contacts with Kia Jarabshian. And then all of a sudden we're getting players like Gabby Martinelli coming in and everything was rosy. But then we get Willian and everything's not so rosy. And it seems since we've moved away from the Brazilian market and we seem to be looking more at the English market, he's struggled massively because he doesn't have those contacts. If he's not prepared to go straight to a club and make an inquiry, then it's going to take... look at how long it took us to get Ben White. Should it really have taken that long? Would it have taken another club that long to get that deal done? Same with the rest of them. No, I'm done with him now as well. He needs to go.
Okay. Kind of conscious of time. So, G, obviously I'm not going to take away you're right to have a say on this, but if you can try and keep it a bit shorter, and
Yeah.
a couple of players still touch on, and then obviously a few things to run through for tomorrow. And
Yeah.
what have you.
No, with regards, like I'm not thrilled with Edu. I think, you know, as much as the Arsenal players, as much as the players that we brought in, I've to be honest, I'm not convinced with the recruitment this summer. But at the end of the day, all those players are now signed, so they're Gooners, and I'm going to support them. But I'm not completely convinced by the players we bought this summer. And let's face it, nobody is convinced. In terms of the outgoings, nowhere near enough players have left this club this summer. In terms of Mark Overmars, like Keith, I don't know enough about him in terms of his credentials, his experience at Ajax. I'm not going to sit here and make out I do. Personally, I don't really care who comes in as the director of football to replace Edu, as long as they do a good job. That's all I want. I just want somebody to come in and, you know, we can actually see, you know, the project or the process that's taking place. You can see how it's, you know, what's being done. So, yeah. So I think for me, Edu has to go. And if it's Mark Overmars is the guy they're going to give a chance, we'll give him a chance, see how he goes, and take it from there. But yeah, I'm not too bothered who comes in as long as they can do a better job than Edu's done.
Okay, great. Well, we'll read out some of these comments and then we'll quickly move on. I've got two. So Lottie, Max Crisps, Keith. Is that what you were talking about?
Ones, yeah, what played Lottie, yeah, like that.
Back to Crisps. AFC pressure, but as usual, Edu lets it go. Keith Walker, sensation, chicken and thyme.
Yeah, not bad.
Lottie, sweet Thai chili. Keith, no, seriously, we've got to get off the crisp conversation. What's it? I do like a bag of what's it. And these batteries gone. Okay. AFC pressure. If Arteta is listening to Twitter in regards to formations, then he should listen regarding transfers demanded from Edu. Lottie still wants Max Aarons. And obviously definitely on the catwalk somewhere or F1 track being called a fashionable fan. Presumably talking about number 2. Keith, Edu has bad as Arteta. Okay. Lions AFC. All we do is penny pinching. Yeah, it's hard to argue with that one. Lottie, one of the few clubs that follow financial fair play. I can't believe we loaned out Saliba and Mavropanos and kept Chambers and Holding. Lottie, Saliba isn't the answer, and to be 30 TV rate this transfer window out of 10, I'd give it 6.5. Currently, I'd give it about 4, possibly a 5.
5 tops, yeah.
Lottie a 6. Lottie B, how he hasn't played a single minute yet. Obviously talking about Saliba. We never questioned Saliba to ever find out. Is he the answer? Instead, Arteta think Klasnic is the answer at centre back. Do you know what? I don't want to get into the whole Saliba debate. These comments, so many of them. Right. The Bell has come out saying there will be big news about a senior personality at the club. Okay. More than likely Edu. Because I do think Edu's going to go this week. Gary, another club legend like Arteta, Overmars done more at Ajax than Edu and with less. Overmars isn't the answer from AFC pressure. I trust Per more than Edu or Overmars, but not even he is the answer. Lions AFC, Edu is going and Overmars is coming in. AFC pressure asking Gary, Arteta is more Everton than Arsenal. Overmars has experience more than Edu and Arteta in European football. AFC Red Room, welcome to the chat. We just don't know when to cut our losses with players and move on. We need to shift these players to progress and move forward. Yeah, absolutely. David, our valuations are all over the place. AFC pressure, Everton. Sorry, Gary said the AFC pressure and Everton didn't look at Arteta. Okay. I'm not getting into that one. AFC Red Room agrees with Gary and David. Keith, yeah, deals take so long, it's rubbish. Trotters Independent could do a better job than Edu and Co. Kushti. Lottie, he could take as long as Pepe or be as quick as Gabriel. Yeah, I'm not getting into the solid comments. Let's just. He respects opinions, doesn't agree. Fair enough. And I've always said that. You know what? We'll always respect everybody's opinion on this channel. We don't always have to agree with each other, but we'll always respect it as long as everybody puts up a reasoned argument. But the Saliba one's just not the one for now. Great show, thank you. Keith, rating out of 5.5. Arsenal undervalue other teams' players with low bids, but then overprice their own when it comes to selling them. Absolutely, Mike. Yeah. NW30 TV Hoarders FC. Mike, I wouldn't take AFC Bell rumor as gospel. They couldn't get anything right, even if they had gone to their head. Yeah, I mean, AFC Bell's as much of a fraud as any of the other in the nose. Although, you know, they guessed well last year with Party. However, I mean, if anybody has been following Cannon Chatter since this day last year when we first set up the page, I did say right from the very start, and Gio backed me on this, that we would sign Party on deadline day. And the reason we wouldn't do it till deadline day was because we were negotiating with Leon for a war. And if we showed them that we had the money to go out and buy Party, Leon would just go, well, you could have had the money to pay for a war. So, and that's the reason. And it was always the reason why we were going to sign Party on deadline day. Lions FC at Ajax, you're not good enough, you're out the door. And Gary, knowing Arsenal, Garlic will be gone, wrong personality. Okay, so very quickly, Mike, the Party rumor was being said by everyone, so it wasn't exactly news yet. Exactly. So a couple of very quick ones. Obviously tonight, it was announced there by Arsenal that Willian has gone. He's on his way to Corinthians. They've terminated his contract by mutual agreement. Very quickly, Keith, sad to see him go?
No. Just very quickly, I'd like to say everyone's singing his praises for, ripping his contract up. It's a wonderful gesture. But guy's already a millionaire. It's not like he's a forklift driver struggling to feed his wife and kids, is it? So it's not really that simple a gesture. Done nothing for me. I don't wish him any ill feeling. I just don't really feel anything for him. Go back to Corinthians. All the best, mate.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that. I mean, the reason I put a picture up of him here in the Chelsea shirt is he never turned up in an Arsenal one. So, Jay, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I thought it was really fitting that you put this picture up, because I was going to say he never really took a Chelsea shirt off, did he? Really, just never showed up for Arsenal. I do have to admit, when we signed him, I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite. I actually thought he was going to be a decent signing.
Yeah, me too.
He was their most creative player the season before we signed him, and I thought, you know what, he's Premier League proven. He's experienced. We've got a lot of young players, and I could see the logic behind the signing. Maybe not so much on a 3-year deal, but I could definitely see the logic as to why we signed him. But yeah, for whatever reason, it's not worked out. But yeah, not going to lose any sleep over him leaving for Corinthians.
Okay. So yeah, he's gone. I'm not going to be sad to see the back of him. What it does do, though, is potentially with him going, and Reece Nelson is on his way to Feyenoord in the Dutch Eredivisie League or whatever it's called. We'll find out a bit more about that tomorrow, actually, on our transfer shows, because we're going to be joined by James Rowe on our first one, who is actually a writer, a football writer, and does a lot of interview with players, but he actually lives out in the Netherlands. So going to get some great insight, hopefully, from him on that around that deal. So Reece Nelson away, Willian away. All of a sudden, does it leave us a little light in attacking options? Aside from the sort of first team options. So is there a possibility we're going to bring someone in tomorrow to replace those? Couple more comments. Lottie got her transfer wish. NDB30, finally some great news. See you later, William. Lottie raising a glass. David, I think William managed one good game for us.
Fulham away.
NDB30 TV could possibly be Arsenal's worst deal ever. No, Simon Mustafi. That has to be the worst deal ever. He was earning good cheddar at Arsenal. Gary Keith, he walked away from 20 million. He gets credit for that. His play on the pitch, no. Always thought he was a squad player to get Pepe up to the level. Another bad decision by Arsenal. Yeah. Okay. So one more then potential outcome that's been talked about, and this was a bit of a story that came out today, and it's made the club look a bit foolish, in my opinion, and that was Ainsley Maitland-Niles. So the rumor was, if anybody's not aware, that he was being looked at by Everton for a potential season-long loan, and we then turned around and said, no, you're not going, after supposedly him having an agreement in private that he was allowed to go this summer on loan. But Arteta has apparently turned around and said, no, I don't want you to go. He then came out and put out a tweet, or an Instagram, sorry, that said he just wants to go where he feels valued and can play football. And he tagged Arsenal in it. I mean, what's your feelings around this whole situation?
I think it epitomizes where we are as a club right now. I think, we are a bit of a laughing stock, for all, I say all football fans out there, other than Arsenal fans. It's a difficult one. If I kind of break it apart into sections, we don't really know what to believe. Well, for me, I don't really know what to believe, because I was under the impression that, from obviously, his loan move to West Brom, things that you'd seen in the press and so forth, that he doesn't want to play right back. That, he started his career as a midfielder and that's where he wants to continue playing. So I was under the impression that obviously, him not being in the team is mainly because he doesn't want to play right back. Because in my opinion, of all the players we've got that can play right back, he is the best option we have. Now, obviously, an article came out today from David Ornstein, or however you pronounce his name, apologies, is that he actually privately had a conversation with Arteta to state that he's happy to play right back. So then that kind of begs the question, one, who do we believe? And two, what's going on if that's the case? Because I think all Arsenal fans were under the impression that he's not playing because he doesn't want to play right back. He even kind of came out and said he wants to play as a midfielder. But yet now we've got conflicting reports that he's actually happy to play right back, but he's just not getting game time. So that's leaving me kind of puzzled. Regardless of that, for me personally, what he did today was very unprofessional. I feel as though he is a young man who is a talented footballer, but I honestly believe he needs more guidance in terms of the people around him, his representatives, because what he put up on Instagram is never acceptable for me. It's not the way social media should be used. And for a professional footballer, as an employee of a club or a business or a company, or however you look at it, for me, it's not an acceptable way to behave. I think the conversations that he's had and the way he feels should be dealt with privately, whether it's him and Arteta and Edu sitting down, whether it's his representatives, whether it's him and his family, whatever the situation is, it happens in a boardroom, it happens in a meeting place, it happens at the club and it stays at the club and it's private. I don't agree. I know people will say, well, he's been treated harshly. He's been left out of the side. At the end of the day, none of us actually know what's happened. But clearly, by him putting that post up, he's unhappy. He wants to leave. But as far as I'm concerned, there's a way you go about it. And the way he's gone about it, for me, it's no judgment against him as a person, because I like Ainsley. I really want him to do well at the club. And if I had my choice, if we don't sign a right back, I want him to stay and reestablish himself as a right back. But I can't condone what he did on social media. It's an embarrassment for the club. It makes us look, pathetic, really, and quite stupid in the public eye. Not only are we getting, shots left, right, and centre from everybody else, but then one of our own players, our Hale End boys, then puts this up and just gives the media more fuel to the fire, in terms of how they can kind of criticize us as a club. So look, he's our best right back option. Whether he stays, whether he leaves, will be decided in the next 24 hours. Regardless of what he's done, I would quite like him to still stay and potentially reestablish himself at a right back. Now I've discovered that he wants to play as a right back. However, what he did today was very unprofessional, and he, like I said, he needs better people around him, because he clearly made, for me, a poor judgment and a poor decision today. And I think if he had better people around him, they would say, listen, there are ways we do things, and that's not how we do things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest, I don't think anything more can really be added to what you just said. You've summed it up perfectly. So with that, I think, we'll move on from it. We'll see what happens tomorrow in the next 24 hours now, because this time tomorrow the window will be shut. So we'll see what happens with him, whether he'll still be an Arsenal player, or whether he'll move on. AFC Pressure saying, give Ainsley Maitland-Niles a chance at right back. Mike, for me, he's acting like a child. First morning he can't play where he wants, and now posting that on Instagram. He needs to just knuckle down and get on with it. Nicolas Stefanovic, Arteta has ignored Ainsley Maitland-Niles' impassioned personal plea to resurrect his career away from Arsenal. The midfielder was told in a hastily arranged face-to-face meeting that he is staying. Lions FC, Dervik Origi name has been thrown about on loan. I heard that one yesterday, and that worried me. Nikolai, Arteta losing the dressing room, possibly. Weezy J, I just don't think it was right, him going on Insta and doing that post.
Yeah.
Absolutely. NDB30TV, Ainsley Maitland-Niles should be knocking Arteta's door and telling him he will play wherever. He is our number one right back at the club. Weezy J, plus he has shown he is a good right back. I think he showed he was a better left back. I think of the right back options, yeah, he probably is, but long term, is it the answer at right back? No, I've said before, I don't think he is. But I would take him over the other options we have, but I still would love us to bring on a right back before tomorrow. AFC Red Room, agree with G 100% here. Unprofessional and dealt with privately, shows a level of immaturity. Yeah. The only thing I would say on that is what I said to you guys earlier on about the G and the Lottie. It puts Arteta in a very difficult position.
Yep.
In that if he goes, Arteta's seen as weak and given him the players. And if he stays and Arteta doesn't play him, then, the fans will be, oh, well, he's not being given a chance. He said he wants to play at right back and stuff. He's kind of he's put Arteta in a very difficult position. And I think that looks, as you said, very unprofessional. I know that better with Lampard and Alonso's situation. It's the same as Arteta and Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Yeah, okay. I just realised, Nikolai, you are a Chelsea fan. That's not a problem. You're still welcome on the show anytime. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so before we wrap things up and have we chat about tomorrow and stuff, Keith, 24 hours left in the window. What are you hoping for?
What I'm hoping for is right back, another central midfielder, and a striker. Preferably our Max Aarons and DCL. What we're going to get, I'm afraid, is the exact opposite of that. I don't see us getting anyone else in. If we do, it's going to be a panic job, or maybe a loan for someone. Probably end up seeing another Ceballos type of player coming in. I think right back is so important, but it's I just don't see it happening, lads. To be honest, I don't have any faith at all in the people responsible for making these deals. So that's me. I don't think anything will happen.
Okay. News breaking tonight: Camavinga's going to Real Madrid.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So, G, little under 24 hours left. What are you thinking?
Yeah, you know what? I can't disagree with Keith, to be honest. really high hopes about this window, and it started off really well. But between now and tomorrow, next 24 hours, I'd love to see a right back, love to see a central midfielder, and would love to see a striker, potentially even a winger as well. But realistically, I can't see us getting any of the caliber of player that Keith has mentioned. I think if we do, it will be, a Cedric type style, signing. It might be the odd loan here and there, but in all honesty, the recruitment, particularly outgoing of the club, has just not been handled very well. So yeah, I've not lost all hope that we will potentially make a marquee signing. I really haven't, because I've seen crazier things happen on deadline day. But at the moment, I'm almost 95% sure that we won't be making any more signings between now and tomorrow's closing of the window. But there's still a glimmer, slight glimmer of hope that we might surprise, or they might surprise us.
Okay. A couple more comments then. Mike, is Dominic Calvert-Lewin really injured, or has he left the England squad to come and sign for Arsenal?
Let's hope
Wouldn't
so.
that be lovely? Keith saying Awar. Jay saying to Mike, that would be the dream. Absolutely. Mike, Arsenal have a disappointing transfer window. Are we really that surprised? Nicola, I found your channel because I watch Scott on the Red Cannon, and your YouTube channel is similar. You know what? Scott's a great guy and doing some great things over there. But you know what? Thanks for coming in and tuning in. And if you've enjoyed the show, make sure and drop a wee subscription and make sure and like the video for us. Lottie keeps in the money there with those picks. Can't disagree with what we actually need. I mean, with those three players, Keith did the exact same three players I want. And if anything, I'd probably add a fourth. Bring in Bruno Guimaraes as well. Scott, morning Scott. Sorry you're late. No problem at all. I'm with G. Don't think anyone's coming in. Well, we'll see. We'll see. But we can talk about that more tomorrow. So just before we go on to sort of what we've got planned for tomorrow and the rest of the sort of the international break and what have you, we'll take a moment. We'll run through the sort of socials and the housekeeping and stuff like that. So first thing, G, the subscriber challenge, we're up to 303, but do you want to tell the guys what's actually happening if they're not familiar?
Yeah, so we do, evening everyone, thank you for joining, thank you for tuning in, and those of you watching it a little bit later, thank you for watching it back. So we do have a subscription challenge. So basically, obviously we're looking to kind of grow the channel, but if you would like, obviously between now and the end of the year, so if we can hit 1,000 subscribers between now and the 31st of December 2021, then I will indeed dye, this beautiful black, slightly grey hair that I have, bleach blonde, along with the beard and the tash, as a kind of, forfeit, as you might say. So please do, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. If you know any other gooners out there that potentially might like our show, or would be interested in, watching our stuff or like our stuff anyway, if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. So between now and the 31st, you have the opportunity to see G Talk to Arsenal with bleach blonde hair. The second part of our subscriber challenge is if we hit 2,000 subscribers between now and the start of next year's Premier League season. I say Premier League season because you never know. We might be playing in the Championship at this rate. But yeah, if you want to, if we can get 2,000 subscribers between now and the start of next Premier League season, then Lottie will actually be getting a tattoo. Obviously, at the moment, it's top secret in terms of what the options may be. I know Stephen has a very, very, I don't know whether it's cheeky or suspicious or whatever look he has on his face, but he's definitely got something up his sleeve for that challenge. So if you want to see
a packet of Monster Munch now.
There you go. So yeah, in a nutshell, if you want to see me with bleach blonde hair, beard, and tash, we need 500. Sorry, not 500. 1,000 subscribers between now and the 31st of December. And if you want to see Lottie, who's not with us tonight, get a tattoo, then it's 2,000 subscribers between now and the start of next season's Premier League.
Brilliant, thank you. And you don't have to just be an Arsenal supporter to follow this channel. So as Nikolai Stefanovic, and again, I hope I got the name right, has shown, Chelsea fans of any team are welcome. Just make sure and subscribe to the channel and then come and join in the chat anytime. All right. We also have fantasy football going. However, I don't have the updates, and as Lottie's having the night off, we'll not worry about that too much. But obviously, we'll talk about that before the next match when we're doing our Norwich preview show. Keith, anybody who's not familiar with you, how do they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at the Mad Rambling One. Also use the tag Keith at Mostly Arsenal. I'm pretty much on Twitter more than I should be, to be fair. So you can always find me there and hit me up for chat if anyone wants to. And you can also find my YouTube channel, which is just very, very simply called Mostly Arsenal. Well, I talk mostly about Arsenal and sometimes throw some slightly amusing anecdotes of teenagers walking into lampposts and stuff like that. So if you like the sound of that, have a look at that.
That's a brilliant channel, guys. Make sure and get over and subscribe to it. Okay. If you do have any last comments or questions or anything, drop them in the chat now. We'll come back to them in a wee minute. G, do you want to run through the socials very quickly before then I tell everybody what's coming up tomorrow?
Yep. So, yeah. So obviously you can follow us on all our socials. I know most of you know us via Twitter, but we are on Facebook, which is at Cannon Chatter. And we do have our own official Instagram page, which is at Cannon_Chatter.
Sorry.
With no worries. With regards to Twitter, obviously that's where we kind of do a lot of our tweets, a lot of our kind of interaction. Most of you know us from Twitter. So our official Twitter account, if you are watching now or at a later date and you're not following the official account, please do. It's at Cannon Chatter. If you want to follow, obviously, Stephen, who is back tonight, really, really glad he is. Follow him at SB Cannon Chatter. Myself, very easy, at G Talks Arsenal. And Lottie, who is not with us tonight, hopefully you're still watching Lottie. I can see by the comments. It's at Lottie_B. That's with 2 T's and 2 I's. Also, if you are interested in reading Lottie's blog, she's got some really good stuff on there with regards to last season, and she's definitely putting. I know she's already got a blog with regards to Vares. I think she's going to have some new content with regards to Ben White and some of the other new signings that we've made. So if you want to go on there and kind of have a little look in terms of what she's done before and obviously what's coming up, it's lottieafc.blogspot.co.uk. To purchase Cannon Chatter t-shirts, obviously I'm rocking the red number that we've kind of had from the start. Tonight, Stephen has the blue hoodie as well as the yellow t-shirt that we've worn on a couple of shows recently. To purchase any kind of Cannon Chatter t-shirts or hoodies, just simply email info@cannonchatter.com or DM Stephen at SB Cannon Chatter on Twitter. And make sure, most importantly, if you're not subscribing, please do subscribe, turn on those notifications, and hit that like button.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so let me just take that off the screen. Okay, in terms of what we've got coming up, so obviously we're in an international break now, and I'll come on to tomorrow in a wee minute. But we are in the international break, so we won't have as many live shows going out until the Norwich preview. But we have been recording a few short videos that we're going to start dropping over the next week, and they will be something different. I'm not going to say too much about them, but they're good, interesting wee videos. Make sure and check those out. Obviously, we'll advertise when they're out there. Okay, so in terms of tomorrow, obviously transfer deadline day, and for me, it's one of my favorite days of the year. Even if we don't sign anybody, I love it. I love the gossip. I love the excitement and the thought that we might sign someone. And I mean, even going back to my school days and stuff, I remember doing things like writing into the BBC and telling them that Riquelme had been spotted in the centre of Belfast on his way to sign for Linfield. So It's always been a bit of fun, but we decided we wanted to sort of make the most of it. So we are going to be on air. We're going to start at 12 o'clock tomorrow, and we'll be on for a couple of hours. At 12, we are going to be joined, as I said earlier on, by James Rowe, who is a freelance writer and does a lot of interviews with players and stuff. Lives out in Holland, so he'll be joining us. I'm not sure Scott's in the chat. I'm not sure if possibly Scott might be joining us tomorrow on the earlier show as well. We'll be on for a couple of hours. We'll be back probably then about 4 o'clock. And I think, Keith, you're going to join us at 4.
Indeed, I am.
For a bit of a chat. We are going to be looking at just all the transfer gossip of the day, not just Arsenal, and just having a bit of crack, a bit of banter, and just helping each other get through the day. Scott saying he'll be there at some point. Great. Brilliant. Okay. We'll then be back on at 7 tomorrow night. And I know I'll probably not be on at 7, but G might be. Lottie's definitely going to be on at 7. And we'll be joined by Albert from Albert JTV. And they'll carry the show for a bit. And then at 9 o'clock tomorrow night, we're going to be joined by the Sensible Gunner. Angelo, all the way from Portland, Oregon, out in the States. So he'll be joining us at 9 o'clock tomorrow night. So a good lineup there. And obviously, I'm sure there'll be a few more people jumping in and getting involved. And as I say, we're just going to have a chat around all the deals that are going on, whether it be Arsenal, whether it be City, Chelsea, United, Liverpool, Burnley, Norwich, whoever it is. We'll chat about them all. And as I say, we'll keep each other entertained. So really looking forward to that one. Can't wait. Right. Any last comments? Let's have a wee quick nosy. Scott and Lottie having a wee chat with each other. Sorry, Lottie, I didn't read that. I've seen your message. We'll ping back one after the guys finished. Okay. No eyebrows.
Nah.
We were relegated. Pickled onion. I'm here. Ben White and Sammy are up. Ramsdale not up yet. Okay. I had said to Lottie that I was going to write a piece, and I actually said on the show, I want to write a wee piece, but I decided I'm going to leave it until after tomorrow. We'll see how we do in terms of transfers and stuff. And then, probably later on this week, I'm going to write a wee piece, and Lottie can post it on her blog for me. And Keith, great show as usual. All right. Well, that seems to be it. So, as we've already said, thanks everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And without you guys, we wouldn't do this show. And we certainly wouldn't go on for as long as we do. Keith, we'll come to you in a wee second for you. We always give you the final word. So, G, any last thoughts before we go tonight?
Just hopefully somehow Arsenal can surprise us all and potentially, get a couple of good deals over the line. I'm not very optimistic, but like I say, I haven't completely given up hope. I think tomorrow's going to be great fun. I'm not going to be able to be on, but we'll speak about it. But I'm not going to be able to be on too early in the day. But I'll definitely feature probably more in the kind of afternoon and evening part. But really looking forward to the show because I love transfer deadline day, regardless of whether we sign anyone or not. Really looking forward to being part of it. But just going to bed tonight after this show, kind of hoping and praying that Arsenal can surprise us and pull a couple of decent signings out of the hat, but we'll see. Time will tell.
Excellent. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to tomorrow as well. There will be a few more surprises probably. I have a couple of phone calls to make in the morning, and we'll hopefully be able to announce a couple more things tomorrow, just to keep the fun going. So we'll see you at 12 o'clock. And with that said, Keith, you can have the final word on tonight's show.
Well, thank you very much. Two guys in the boxes at the top of the screen. Thank you for having me back on again. It's always a pleasure and always appreciated. Guys in the chat, awesome as always. If you haven't liked, subscribe this little gem of a channel, then please do so. And don't forget to share it wherever you can as well. And same as these guys. Hopefully we'll wake up with some nice stocking fillers to start playing for our lovely team. But have a good evening or morning, wherever you may be. Cheers.